You know, some stories, they just feel like they're straight out of a movie, right? We're talking impossible odds, incredible sacrifice, and this just relentless drive for greatness that completely shatters what we thought was possible. Well, this is one of those stories.
Just picture it. Those are the words full of emotion from Lewis Hamilton right as he secures his seventh Formula One World Championship. I mean, what a moment. History being made right there. But it really makes you wonder,
seriously, how does a kid from a working-class background break into this super exclusive, ridiculously expensive world of motorsport and become, well, the king? The most successful driver of all time? To figure that out, we gotta go way back, right back to the start.
Yeah, to really get the full picture of the champion, you have to understand the kid. We're talking long before any of the trophies, the podium champagne, or the global fame.
So this whole journey, it doesn't start on some glamorous racetrack in Monaco. Nope, it starts with a working-class family in Stevenage, England. And get this, they were often the only black family on the karting scene. They faced so much prejudice, people telling him they didn't belong. But his dad's advice was always the same, and it was perfect. Do your talking on the track.
4. What's that number mean? That's how many jobs his father, Anthony, would sometimes work at the same time. We're talking dishwasher, putting up signs for real estate agents, literally anything and everything he could do to keep his son's dream alive.
it all started with a simple radio-controlled car, then a used go-kart they found in a newspaper ad for Christmas. But the real story is the sacrifice. His dad would work all those jobs, then come home and be in the garage until 2 in the morning tinkering with that cart. He taught himself to be a mechanic because they just couldn't afford to hire one. He was dad, manager, mechanic, the whole shebang.
And all that sacrifice, it paid off. Big time. Because the second Lewis got on a track, it was obvious. This kid wasn't just good, he was something else entirely. A true prodigy. Okay, so check this out. This quote shows you everything you need to know about his mindset. He's just 10 years old at some awards dinner, and he walks straight up to the boss of McLaren, Ron Dennis. And he doesn't ask for an autograph. No, he looks him in the eye and says, "One day I'll race for you." I mean, the confidence, it's unbelievable. And you better believe Ron Dennis never forgot that kid.
So just 3 years after that bold statement, McLaren signs him to their junior program. And what happens next is just a blur of winning. He absolutely tears through the junior ranks. Formula Renault, Formula 3, GP2. He doesn't just win, he completely dominates. That promise he made at 10, turns out it wasn't arrogance, it was destiny.
And then, world champion. In just his second year in F1, he does it. He fulfills that promise. And the way he did it, oh man, it was one of the most insane season finales you will ever see. He won the championship on the very last corner of the very last lap of the very last race. You couldn't write it any better. Pure Hollywood.
But here's where the story takes a massive turn. After finally winning with McLaren, the team he grew up with, his home, he does something that nobody saw coming. He leaves.
And you really have to understand just how crazy this move seemed at the time. Look at the facts in 2012. McLaren was a powerhouse, always winning races. Mercedes, they were a struggling midfield team. They'd won one race. To the outside world, this looked like career suicide, pure madness.
And that was pretty much what everyone was saying. This quote from a journalist sums it up perfectly. The media, the so-called experts, they all thought he'd made a huge mistake, that he was just chasing a paycheck. But Lewis, he saw something that nobody else did.
And what happened next? Well, it didn't just prove all those critics wrong, it completely rewrote the history books of Formula One.
So the gamble pays off. Why? Because in 2014, the rules for the engines completely changed. It was the start of the turbo hybrid era. Mercedes had poured everything into getting this new engine right, and boy did they get it right. They built a rocket ship, and just like that, Lewis Hamilton was in the fastest car by a mile. That career-ending gamble? Yeah, it had paid off. Big time.
But it wasn't going to be a walk in the park, because his biggest threat, his greatest challenge, wasn't in another car. He was right there on the other side of the garage, his teammate, Nico Rosberg. And these two went way back. They were friends, rivals since they were kids in go-karts. That friendship was about to be tested like never before.
And their rivalry was absolutely epic. We got legendary moments like the duel in the desert in Bahrain, just incredible wheel-to-wheel racing. But then you had the intense, ugly moments, like when they crashed into each other in Spain. The tension was off the charts. Finally, in 2016, Rosberg throws everything he has at it and just barely beats Lewis to the championship. And then a few days later, he retires. Just like that, completely burned out from the fight.
So with Rosberg gone, Lewis was unleashed. And what came next was a run of dominance that the sport had never seen before. This is where he started rewriting history.
7. In 2020, he clinches his 7th world championship. That's the magic number. He finally equals the great Michael Schumacher, a record many thought would never, ever be touched.
And then there's this number, 92. In that same year, he took his 92nd win, breaking another one of Schumacher's records that people thought was unbreakable, the most race wins of all time. At this point, he's at the absolute peak, the summit of motorsport.
So, what now? He's broken all the records, his legacy is secure. You'd think it's time for the final chapter, right? The victory lap? Well, that's not how Lewis sees it.
I'm working on a masterpiece, and I haven't quite finished it yet. That's how he thinks about his career. It's not just about the numbers and stats. To him, it's a piece of art that he's still crafting.
Which brings us to the latest and maybe the most shocking plot twist of all. In 2025, after more than a decade of building a dynasty with Mercedes, he's leaving, and he's going to their biggest rival, the most famous name in racing, Ferrari. This is easily one of the biggest moves in the history of sports, period.
So, that leaves us with the big question, right? After all this success, can he do it again? Can he go to Ferrari and bring a championship back to those legendary scarlet cars? What will the final chapter of this masterpiece look like when it's painted in red? The story isn't over, and honestly, we can't wait to see how it ends.